Hi everybody. I still haven't quite got the nether star for that battery, but while I was waiting I've been clearing out some space in the rest of this nether fortress. And as you can see, I've been at it for quite a while. And I have managed to get one wither skeleton skull. It's reached the point where I think I need an alternative way of getting them. Although the hunt here has managed to keep things from getting boring. I have managed to find one other way of getting wither skeleton skulls. Which brings us back to our old friend the bees. We're going to breed some withering bees. And for that, we're going to need the bees from hell. So these bees have to be bred in the nether. So my plan is to make myself a nice little breeding office here off to the side in this nether fortress, so that I can work on breeding these bees in between attempts to harvest them the old-fashioned way. So I'll go ahead and dig out a room for this. This may take a few minutes. By the way, don't do that. And breeding office. I have set up a whole alveary here, complete with mutator. And I've gathered a bunch of soul sand, which works in these things. And I have my own little apiarist backpack. Oh, which I already took the bees out of. So we'll just breed this cultivated princess with this tropical drone. And I'm not sure if the cultivated is going to work here, but the tropical drone actually has quite a wide range because I have already acclimatized it. And I may have to do the same with the queen I get from this. Let's see. Yep, it doesn't like it here. That's fine. We'll just make a trip back home and take care of that. The acclimatizer is about the simplest of the genetic machines. All you have to do is put the bee in there with some items to acclimatize it. For instance, if you want them to adjust to warmer weather, you can put in blaze powder or canisters of lava or lava buckets, but I don't think they're as effective. That is to say, because you can not stack the buckets. And we also want this guy to be used to some dry weather, so we'll throw in with some sand and let it acclimatize to that. As I mentioned, the tropical drones have already been acclimatized to dry areas. And I'll have to see if that kind of warmth is something they can live with. But this temperature tolerance should be plenty. Oh yeah, another thing I thought it might be useful to point out, if acclimatizing them to drier climates isn't working for you, acclimatizing them works either way. So if you'll notice that its tolerance has increased to both 4 instead of just increasing to hot weather, the same applies for humidity. So we can acclimatize it with water capsules and still acclimatize it to lower humidity. So now we have a queen that's tolerant to a range of 4 in temperature and 2 in humidity. I think that'll be enough for the nether. And it's easy enough to test. And happy bee, except for the lack of flowers. And since this guy needs rocks, we'll just plant a couple rocks around it. But it might want cobble. And just in case, we'll give it some gravel too. And happy bee. Oh hey, you know what might be a good idea before these actually breed into something that will set me on fire? Wearing one of these suits. Protects me from all of those unpleasant bee effects like tropical drones poisoning effect and the nether bees setting you on fire effect. I'm sure the wither bee actually has a withering effect. And let's not forget the ender bee's effect of just outright killing you. So yeah, apiary suits, good idea. Unfortunately, we're having problems with it being too hot and not bright enough. But that is actually one reason why it's good to have an alveary instead of an apiary. We can actually adjust the environment in here. And alveary lighting. Something is following me. Alveary fan. And a battery. And flux radiator. Just to keep it all powered. That's fine, it can keep that powered too. And happy bees. And sinister bees. Now quite happy in this hellish arid place. So to be honest, I could take this fan back out again, but I can do that later. Now for my next breeding, I'm going to be breeding a fiendish bee. And for that, I'm going to use a modest princess with the sinister drone. And my main reason for that is that modest bees are a little bit more attuned to this environment. Since they're actually bees that come from the desert, they should get along just fine here. Especially since I have the cactus here. Of course, it would probably breed better if I actually put my mutagens in the mutator. And we've finally gotten to fiendish bees. It took me several tries. In fact, I had to start over twice, because they kept trying to breed into frugal bees, which I'm sure will be very useful once I'm ready to use them. But right now I'm looking for something a little more evil. So we'll just put these away for now. See if I can't pull the species out with the genetic machinery when I get a chance. And try to build up a few extra drones with this for breeding purposes. And that's enough fiendish drones. And now we're ready to work on the demonic ones. And for that, all we have to do is breed the fiendish ones with the sinister ones. And at least with this combination, there aren't other possible mutations that I can get with the same combination. So it'll just breed into a demonic bee or not. Until, of course, it does anyway, because I'm more stubborn than these genes. And finally, we have our demonic bees. Now, after I generate a few drones from those, all I need to do is mix those with some spiteful bees to get withering bees. But to breed spiteful bees, I'll need hateful bees. And to breed hateful bees, I'm going to need infernal bees. And those can't be bred. They can only be found in the wild in the nether. Which means I'm going to have to go out and hunt for them. So yeah, this will be fun. Okay, so I spent quite a while wandering and searching through the nether in search of infernal hives. And in fact, most of that time was spent playing this on my laptop while I was in the hospital. And for more information on that, you can look up my other series, which I've just started getting it together. Anyway, once I'd gotten a couple of kilometers away, I finally gave up and decided that I may as well just fill up my miner's backpack with all of the nether quartz and glowstone that I could find. And while I was digging out a deposit of nether quartz, I found one of these babies. Just exactly what I was looking for. I ended up finding 3 of them. So I've got a couple of queens to spare. And I've already got one here generating drones. So we'll just let them work for a while, and then I'll be able to breed those with eldritch drones. Until I have hateful bees. And these weren't exactly easy to breed, but mostly because they kept going back and forth between infernal and eldritch. And eldritch don't like nether conditions. So I had to keep putting sets of alveary fans in and out of the alveary. But now that I have this hateful princess, I can breed it with an eldritch drone. And then, hopefully, in a reasonable amount of time, I will get oh so spiteful bees. Which we will finally, at long last, put together with our old friend the demonic bee, so that we can come up with the oh so evil and oh so useful withering bee. They're a handy little bee that puts out this wither skeleton bone chip, which you can put together to make a wither skeleton skull fragment, 6 of which you can make a wither skeleton skull with. Of course, that means it takes 36 bone chips to make a skull, which means 98 of them in order to actually make a wither. Which is still quicker than hunting skulls around here. Of course, there's also going to be that withering effect to deal with. And it seems nothing escapes from that. But I have a plan to deal with that too. We'll just need to install a hatchery here. And let our evil withering queen lay some grubs. And then we can put in whatever genetic traits we want. At least ones that we've collected. We could even change our species, but that would be kind of pointless, wouldn't it? But I would be able to increase its production, change its fertility, and even remove effects from it. If I had gotten the effect of healing from the imperial bees, I'd be able to use that. But I haven't quite been able to extract that from their line yet. So I'll settle for nothing. Which is a lot better than dying. We actually got our larvae together pretty quickly. They didn't take long to grow at all. Which is just fine, and we'll be taking this back to the tree. Where we'll be taking a nice little serum array. And I'm going to have to clean this out in a furnace real quick. I should keep a furnace here somewhere. But I don't have any that just run on RF. thermal expansion is not part of this pack. And empty serum array. Now, we don't want to change our species, but we may as well make our production as fast as possible. And give ourselves the best tolerance we can come up with. We'll still have to increase it in order to grow them here in the overworld. And some of these qualities, like cave dwelling, these bees already have. But I figure I may as well just put that on there so that I can reuse this thing, which is another reason why I don't want to put species on this. And we'll give us a no effect, which will wipe the old effect from them. Then we'll take this downstairs. And polymerize it for a while. Throw in some gold nuggets to speed the process. And these are some random genetic traits that I've been pulling out of these bees. Looks like I'm looking for just the species names on these right now. And now that we have 5 charges, we'll just inoculate our larva, which we have already preloaded in the inoculator. And then load those little fellas into our incubator to incubate. And I'd also like to add, this inoculation process takes longer the more genes you put in there. How long, you ask? Long enough to build a new room for my infusion altar and get it set up with magic Essentia mirrors to hook it up to the alchemy room. Although I have one more set of mirrors to go because the alchemy room is actually kind of large. Although I have enough mirrors set up for this part anyway. But for some reason the room doesn't seem quite as stable as I would like. Even though I have pretty much a carpet of candles underneath. Still seems to be working nicely, and I can add more stabilizers later. I'm certain that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh dear. I've lost my ender pearl. That's okay, I can finish this later. But the main thing is that these genetically re-engineered withering drones are ready to go. Which means I'm ready to go back to the Nether. Where I can put these drones in with that queen. And as soon as these all manage to breed with the resulting princesses, their genes will overwrite her genes. All resulting in a kindler, gentler bee
from hell.
So now all we need to do is run these little fellows through the acclimatizer for a while. With some snowballs and probably some water canisters. So that they can learn to live with the coolness and the humidity of the overworld. Well, I wasn't able to get their tolerances as wide as I wanted to, and I'm out of snowballs, and I don't feel like looking for more. But there are always other options. For instance, we can always install some hydro regulators or heaters. But let's go ahead and get an alveary put together before we decide what exactly we need. Better yet, let's use this one. And we'll put this queen in over here for now. And let's see what happens. Pretty sure the first thing I'm going to need is a cactus. And yep, it's too cold. And we need cactus. So I'll start with a hygroregulator. Or two. And then we'll see what happens. And hygroregulator. And I've got it set up to be supplied with lava because that seems easier than supplying RF to a heater. And I have already set up a cactus for this queen to pollinate. So as soon as the lava from our lava tank comes in, we should see the heat come up and the humidity come down. Of course, I may want to consider pumping up some more lava soon. That should be no difficulty, though. And lava. Which should bring our temperature up to 80, which I think might be high, and our humidity down to 20. Just as soon as it gets around to it. And if that's not enough, I've got another fluid supplier and another hydroregulator that I can use to raise the temperature and lower the humidity still further. Which it looks like I shall need to do. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to have to break down and install heaters. And alveoli heaters. And I'm powering them with Buildcraft Kinesis pipes to limit the exact amount of power that goes through. According to the documentation, these things will burn through a lot more power than they need if you let them. And these cobblestone kinesis pipes won't let more than 80 RF per tick through. Which is more than the heaters need. But should keep the consumption down to a reasonable level. And the winter is hot enough. And we've got this thing loaded up with all the frames it'll need. And once we get filled up with larvae here, I will also increase their fertility so we get extra drones. So, there we are. Wither Skull farming with the bees
from hell.
If you enjoyed it, please like. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Next episode, I want to get back into some Chromatocraft, which will probably include some exploring. Until then, have some fun, build something cool, and have a nice day.